One day, while exploring the wasteland, you stumble upon a caravan signal.
This is an emergency broadcast. Our caravan's under attack by hostile robots and needs some serious help. We're just east of Watts Consumer Electronics. If anyone in the vicinity can come help, now's the time. Ada, loop this message.
Yes, sir.
When you head to the Watts Consumer Robotics, you find a firefight currently underway between a bunch of crazed robots and another robot named Ada. After a frenzied fight dispatching all of the robots, Ada talks to you to express her gratitude.
My friends did not survive the attack. My name is Ada. This was the third time we've been attacked by robots like these. It's time to uncover the source and confront their leader, the Mechanist. Now, we last saw a group of the Mechanist robots at the General Atomics factory. You may find information there that will lead us to the Mechanist.
Jackson's holotape tells us a little bit more about their caravan's struggles with the Mechanist.
We ran into some hostile robots today. They were pieced together, like the ones we've been making in that workbench. Weird thing is, one of them was spouting something about the Mechanist. That they're here to protect the Commonwealth. Yeah, protected my ass. We managed to lose them. Those things were dangerous. Shades and I went back and picked up an arm we shot off. Whoever's making these things is an expert. Maybe even beyond my level. I'll have to look into upgrading Ada and Hertz for some better protection.
Sounds to me like it's about time to put an end to this Mechanist, and we must start at the General Atomics factory. The General Atomics factory is in South Boston, right next to the Four Leaf fish packing plant. Just inside the entrance to the General Atomics factory, we find a receptionist's desk with a receptionist's terminal and the dead receptionist lying on top of the table. We learned that the receptionist's name was Miss Hayes. General Atomics had just released a new line of Miss Nanny robots. They're anticipating that some of the units may be malfunctioning and that the factory will likely get a lot of traffic from people looking to return their defective units. This note simply instructs Miss Hayes, the receptionist, to tell angry customers that they need to return their Miss Nanny robots by mail instead of bringing them in person to the factory. The receptionist served 4 senior members of the General Atomics Company. She has detailed notes about the kind of coffee they liked. Mr. Kincade liked a cappuccino with extra foam and no sugar. Mr. Smith liked a latte with skim milk and 3 spoonfuls of sugar. Mr. Nook likes his coffee black with absolutely no sugar or milk. She must have made a mistake in the past, I bet. And Mrs. Calhoun likes her coffee with 2 packets of half and half and 1 of sugar. The General Atomics factory had a full schedule ahead of themselves. Even though the bombs dropped on October 23rd, we find a calendar of events going all the way until the 26th. The General Atomics Board of Investors were going to be taking a tour of this factory on October 25th at 3 p.m., just 2 days after the bombs dropped. The very next day at 9 in the morning, the factory technicians were going to be having a team meeting. And later that day, the company would reward all of their employees with a factory ice cream social. This is an interesting window into the past, but when you arrive at the factory, you are almost immediately assaulted by extremely dangerous robots. Even at level 60, I found these robots to be a challenge. Through an opening to the left of the entrance, you find the factory floor filled with robots, but there are also robots that shoot at you from 2nd and 3rd story balconies in this room. Before we can explore this factory, we have got to clear it of all of these robots. At the very back of the 2nd floor is a locked security door, and on the other side are a couple more robots, one of which is a robo-brain with unique dialogue.
You truly inspire me to use deadly force.
On this robot, we find the Mechanist device, as well as the Mechanist's holotape.
Attention, people of the Commonwealth. I, the Mechanist, have come to bring about an age of peace. Do not be alarmed. These robots are your allies, your protectors, and they will not rest until the Commonwealth is saved. Together, we will restore justice and bring about the dawn of a new age.
Once you get this Mechanist device, you can go back to Ada to continue with the Automatron quests. But we're here to explore the General Atomics factory, so let's continue with our exploration. The second floor is more like a series of catwalks that weave around robot building equipment used to create robots on the factory floor. From the second floor, we can find a small stairway that leads us up to the very small third floor. On the third floor, we find a female skeleton next to a locked terminal, but strangely, when you unlock this terminal, you find nothing inside. This is confusing to me. I tried checking out this terminal on multiple characters and got the same result. There's nothing inside. Yet I don't see this terminal referenced in any of the online documents that I read in preparation for this video, so I don't know if this is just me or if others have found this issue as well. I can't find any text transcribed from people who have accessed this terminal, so I think it's just incomplete content from Bethesda. On the second floor, we find a terminal called Mr. Kincade's terminal. This is the guy that the receptionist said loved himself a cappuccino. The first entry of his terminal tells us that he is being reassigned to a new job. He's got a letter from General Atomics Corporate saying congratulations on your new promotion. We learn that they are transferring Mr. Kincade to the General Atomics Galleria. The Galleria is a big shopping center run by robots. All of the employees are robots. They have a bowling alley and a bunch of different shops. General Atomics just needed Mr. Kincade to be the sole human overseer of this shopping center. They say, we assure you that this will be a comfortable job and that it will require very little effort or stress on your part. I guess they see this as more of a retirement for Mr. Kincade. They certainly see it as a promotion. Thank you for your service to the company, they say as they end their letter. And then we read a note from Mr. Kincade himself. He is far from pleased. He says, I put years of my life into keeping this factory running, and this is how they treat me? I'm supposed to babysit a bunch of robots while they play shop? This is ridiculous. He then goes on to call this ageism. He believes that the General Atomics company is just trying to put Mr. Kincade away because he's just getting a little bit too old for the company. He's very sensitive to this. He says, I can still do my job as well as any 25-year-old, but they tell me, Mr. Kincade, it's time to retire. Mr. Kincade, you should travel. Mr. Kincade, you should spend time with your family. And then he says, well, I don't want to do any of those things. I want to sit here and run this factory like I have been for years. Poor Mr. Kincade, he doesn't want to travel. He doesn't want to spend time with his family. What a cantankerous old man. But hey, you know what? He found something that he loved, and he's sad to have it stripped from him. He says this new job will be the death of me. I am literally going to be bored to death, and it will be their fault. On his desk, we find the General Atomics ID card. This is a crucial puzzle piece that you will need when you finally go to explore the General Atomics Galleria. But we shall save that for a future video. What's also interesting about this room is on the wall we find a large framed painted portrait of a cute little girl. Now I've read many theories online from players who believe that this is actually the portrait of a young Isabel Cruz. Isabel Cruz has an important role in the Automatron questline. If you don't want spoilers, then do not Google her name. But my problem with this theory is that Isabel Cruz is clearly a young 20-something-year-old when you meet her. This is a painted portrait of Isabel Cruz as a child that was placed on the wall of the General Atomics factory before the bombs dropped. Now, Isabel Cruz is Hispanic, and this young little girl does look Hispanic, so I can understand why many players would think that it's a portrait of her, but the timing doesn't add up to me. However, I still have no idea whom this is a portrait of. I don't believe we find this portrait in very many places in the game. I can't think off of the top of my head of another place where we find access to this portrait. So if this is not a portrait of Isabel Cruz, who is it a portrait of? Maybe I can get your help with this in the comments below. Let me know your theories about who is depicted in this portrait. Adjacent to Kincade's office, where you find his terminal, is another room filled with a bunch of other desks. On one of the desks, we find Tesla Science Magazine issue number 2, which gives plus 5% critical damage to all energy weapons. The bottom floor is the factory floor where the company created its line of Mrs. Nanny robots. We find all sorts of robot pieces on conveyor belts. This is a great place to find coolant caps, which themselves are a great source of aluminum. And the robots you kill here are a wonderful source not only of robot body part mods for the robot workbench, but also of fusion cores. I walked away with 6 extra fusion cores just from defeating these robots. On the bottom floor, in the very back of the room, is a locked door. Once you unlock the door and step inside, a Mrs. Nanny voice begins to speak at you through a megaphone.
Greetings, Unit 761. Welcome to the General Atomics Quality Assurance Department, where we assure your functionality is up to our high standards. We must run a few tests before returning you to your caregiving duties. Now please, proceed into the first test chamber.
This begins the quest Quality Assurance. Apparently, after each Mrs. Nanny robot was manufactured, they were put through this test to make sure that they were suitable for watching human children without harming them. The AI assumes that you are a Mrs. Nanny robot, and so they are about to put you through this test yourself. In the first room, they ask you to punish a child.
Little Timmy has broken a valuable vase while playing catch in the house. The vase was a family heirloom, and it is quite irreplaceable. Please punish the child accordingly.
This one is pretty easy, just turn off the radio.
The child needs discipline. Fantastic. The appropriate punishment was separation of the child from any potential source of entertainment. And please remember, corporal punishment is strictly forbidden unless the user enables it in your configuration mode. Please proceed into the second test chamber.
In the second room, they want you to soothe the crying baby.
A proper Miss Nanny unit must be able to identify the needs of her charges. Please assess the state of the crying child and fulfill its needs. Wah!
This one is also pretty easy. Just grab the bottle on the nearby nightstand and drop it in the crib.
Wah! Wah! Correct. The child was hungry. Your vocal tonality analysis programming seems to be in working order. Please take this opportunity to reconfirm that any deprecated muffling procedures are not left in your programming. Now please, proceed into the third testing chamber. We will now test your hazard detection matrices. Please child-proof this environment by moving any hazardous object to where little hands cannot reach. Child-proof the room.
This final test is a little more tricky. They want you to remove all potentially hazardous objects from the child's playroom. The first is easy to find. In the bottom of the fridge is a machete, of all things. So grab the machete and store it in your inventory. The next one took me a while. Back towards the entrance of this room, on the bottom shelf of one of the nightstands is a box of Abraxo cleaner. This is like a laundry detergent or maybe some sort of scrubbing solution. Surely it's poisonous, so grab that. I thought I was done at this point, but I didn't get an update to the quest, so I kept looking until I found an adjustable wrench on the floor near the Abraxo cleaner. Grabbing this completed the quest.
Splendidly done. All potentially fatal objects have been put out of a child's reach. Please remember, children have a penchant for finding ways to harm themselves. They never are truly safe. Absolute diligence is required. Congratulations! It appears you are fully functional and ready to return to service. Please take a replacement fusion core from the safe in the hallway on your way out.
Once you're done, open the safe at the end of the hallway to loot a bunch of fusion cores. This is a great place to get fusion cores early in the game if you're doing a power armor build and you are short of them. Now, I must say that this quest is bugged. In my first playthrough, I experienced many bugs, and many people online have said that this entire quest is bugged as well if you don't complete it before leaving the building the first time. If you don't complete this unmarked quest before leaving the General Atomics building, the next time you come back, the AI will continue to issue you commands, but no matter what you do, you can't complete the quest. So my advice would be to go through this thing the very first time you enter the building, make sure you complete it, loot the fusion cores before leaving. Now, the General Atomics Company has a long and rich history in the Fallout universe. At some point, I will do a video going deep into the history of that company. That wasn't the purpose of this video. This video was just talking about the factory and the history of this one unique spot at this unique time in Boston's history. Stay tuned for future videos where I will complete the Mechanist line of quests and where I'll talk more about the General Atomics Company, their Galleria, and everything else. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'd love to hear your opinions on this topic, especially about who could possibly be depicted in that painting on the wall. I have no idea who that could be, and I doubt that it's Isabel Cruz. What's your theory? Let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to chat about this topic with other like-minded individuals on my Oxhorn Fallout 4 Discord community, be sure to click the invitation link in the description of this video. And if you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. Patreon subscribers gain access to a private channel on my Discord server, as well as a bunch of other cool Oxhorn perks. But more than anything, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just so glad that you're here watching this video with me today. Thanks for watching from the bottom of my heart, and I'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, for a brand new video.